I'm Stefan. I'm part of Unit Network, helping with the organization and other parts, and also with conferences. So I'm very happy to be involved and hear from all of you bright minds. First up, we have our very own Yip, who is Thy-diep, goes by the name of Yip. And she will be speaking about the well-being in Web3, more than a nice to have asset. She founded Unit Masters, which has been a huge success with thousands of participants and graduates from the program. It's a free 6-week blockchain literacy program. And she's also the governor of her DAO and co-founder of DLT Talents that are both providing scholarships to hundreds of women to enter the blockchain economy. And her work there has been celebrated with having actually being voted as the top 100 women involved in the blockchain. So congratulations. And beyond that, I think she's worked previously with McKinsey and in the financial services practice, and also with Rocket Internet. She holds an MBA from INSEAD, the business school, and is an advisor to Antler, Techstars, Plug and Play, Launchpool, XYZ, etc. So she's a passionate teacher in meditation, a poet, has written her own book that's called Beautiful Brains, Change Tomorrow Today, and a mindfulness manifesto and guide to entrepreneurship. So we're very happy, Yip, that you're with us. And we're curious to see how mindfulness and well-being is all connected with our pursuits in the Web3. I'll give you the floor.
Thank you so much, Stefan. Thank you so much, Christian. Thank you so much, Lisa, for putting together this World Polkadot Forum. We're quite confident that Polkadot technology is the future here at Unit. Like already said, I'm one of the co-founders at Unit Network, and we work towards bringing wealth or reducing the wealth inequity problem in this world. And one way to do that, and one way I think is the most effective way to do that, is the token economy in the way we're designing and building and laying the base layer infrastructure to create that. Me personally, within Unit Network, I take care of the strategy for Unit and also the education, because education or literacy, blockchain literacy, is a key component of building the human layer for the token economy of tomorrow. When you think like on the tech layer, Unit is creating a tech layer that is free from the need of trusting each other, while on a peer-to-peer level transacting value with each other. Right? It's like the evolution of what we've seen Bitcoin doing, the evolution of what we've seen Ethereum doing, the building on top of what Polkadot is doing, which is in a sense building the internet of blockchain. So Unit is building the base layer on the technology side for the token economy, and we are also doing so on the human side of things. And one key component I want to speak about today is the need for well-being, or the need for balance. Because if we are to think about how does a world of balance and prosperity look like, to think about how does a balanced world look like, right? What is a world in which we can be sure that each person can contribute to that world in the way they feel is most meaningful to them. Right? So a world in the token economy is a world in which people are not only creators. We are already seeing that today. We are already seeing in Web2 that platforms such as Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and whatever are enabling something we call the creator economy. What we haven't seen yet, and what we are yet to see, and I'm pretty confident we will see that before the end of the decade, is a shift towards a contributor economy. Contributor economy, basically a place in which each person can not only create, but contribute And the second most important thing, and this is what token economy enables, is to benefit from their contribution equally. So when you think about it in the bigger picture, it's about internet of value, value being defined as whatever this person or this contributor thinks is valuable, and value floating across the economy in a peer-to-peer manner, very smooth, like without frictions, in a cost-efficient way. Right? How can something be smooth? It can be smooth because technology and the design mechanisms enable it to be smooth, cost efficient, cost effective, so that it makes sense from not only the human perspective, like, oh, we want to see something happening, we care, we value it, but also we can see it happen because the cost of making it happen is less than the benefit that we have from it. So that's like the main idea behind Internet of Value. So a balanced world, going back to a balanced world in which everyone can contribute in the most meaningful way. Think When we think of balance and we think of the state of the economy and the state of the crypto economy today, it's not a very balanced state. That it's a state in which we have a majority of people, and I have done nothing more than traveling the world with unit co-founders, studying the different ecosystems, in particular the Ethereum ecosystem, for example, and understanding who are the main actors there, who are the main stakeholders, contributors, investors there, and realizing that the world is very out of balance. Mainly, I don't want to be like super provocative, but if I were to be, then I would say it's a very male, Western white male driven world. And this is the world we're building. Like this world is building by a small minority of people with the expectation and the value promise to be building the technology that is actually going to contribute to 80% of value created in the next 10 years of the world. Like, long story short, when we think, how does the world look like in 2030 from a market valuation perspective, from a macroeconomic perspective, we would believe that as of like similar to today, we look at the list of like the world's 15 most valuable companies. About 80% of them are tech companies, mainly built and raised in the Silicon Valley in US. So when we look into the future, 10 years from now, even 8 years from now, there's no reason to believe that this list will not be will be of different character, right? It will still be tech-driven companies or projects, but maybe they will not be US Silicon Valley driven companies if we all work together to make this list more balanced. So how do we do that in Unit Network? So my co-founders will hopefully already have spoken about our different economic incentives and our tech infrastructure. I want to speak about the education component, because we think, if we want to think of the world of balance and we can analyze the gap that is in there between, then we can actually find feasible methods to close the gap. One feasible method that I think is most urgent right now to close is the gender parity gap. The United Nations have already declared it a Noble Sustainable Development Goal, as in they declared by 2030, we want to close something called SDG5, Sustainable Development Goal 5, and we want to accomplish gender parity. So that is 8 years from now. We are very dire in the sector that will create most of the value for the human economy within the next 8 years. We are very far behind. When we look at the different conferences, maybe 5 to 10% female attendance. So when we think about the growth rate of the industry, and Web3 is known to be very, very growth driven, just within the past few weeks or maybe 2 3 months, there has been about $4 to $5 billion commitment from different venture capital funds to build something called the metaverse. Right? So a lot of money is still flowing into the market, but if all of this money is flowing in and there's not enough diversity in the number of people who use these funds and create something out of it, then we will create a very biased economy for tomorrow. once this economy or the tech layer is created, it is very difficult to shift it again, because then we are in a world in which we can only reallocate value that had been created. So the incremental value add in, let's say, 3 to 5 years from now will be very, very small. So we have to all join forces to close that gap today, because with every day that we're not closing it, the gap widens. The gap between those who are already contributing and those who have not yet contributed will widen, and that gap will be measurable in wealth held and distributed across different groups of world economy. So in UNIT, we think this is really a major problem, like a major obstacle to solve. And we do one piece of our work to solve it is education. I want to spend a few minutes to speak about the UNIT Masters program. So UNIT Masters is our global blockchain literacy program, and the blockchain literacy program is a free program. It runs for 6 weeks. It has the intention to close to close the gap between those who already contribute to Web3 and those who do not contribute to Web3. And within 6 weeks, we go from 0 to hero about anything related to understanding the fundamental drivers of a foundational technology that is gonna transform everyday life. It's on purpose, free of cost, because we understand that those who don't know yet about it will not also have a very high willingness to learn something and then even to pay for something they don't even know about. But those who don't know about it are actually those voices we do want to hear and we do want to have participating when we create this economy of tomorrow. And so it's a 6 weeks program, and it's structured in a way that everyone can join in. Our participants have been from across the globe. Maybe let me share a little bit of data with you so that you can understand what we're talking about here. So this is Unit Masters, one of our flagship programs. We're now in cohort 10. So we've trained a few thousand people already. And every week we have one topic, a very simple question for understanding. And at the end of the program, the goal is to be not only literate, but actually to be fluent, to have developed a fluency about the key concepts of this economy, and then to decide whether I want to participate or whether I want to not participate. If I want to participate in this economy, in which way do I want to build my skill level and my expertise to go in there? So the first week is about understanding the merit of decentralization. It's a key component of understanding why people have passionately and fearlessly built the internet of value, or fearlessly built the internet of value. And what is actually the internet of value? In which way does it differ from the internet of communication or the internet of information that we've observed over the past 4 decades? Then in the second week, once we understood the major fundamental thought concepts about this new world, we're speaking about the new economy ecosystem, or actually the blockchain ecosystem. And it's called an ecosystem because the dynamics within this ecosystem are interrelated. So what it means is, if we don't understand how all of these forces that are not part of one single institution are playing with each other, then it's very difficult to understand which part of these forces do I want to contribute my own force to. So we will look at different stakeholders, not only the tech companies, but also the places that provide the services for these tech companies, the places that regulate these tech companies, how are their relationships? And then in the third week, speak about incentive alignment. For many people who are experts in the industry, or people who've built the industry from startup, the main value promise, or the main winning argument for why Web3 is actually the change driver, or the historic change driver for our economy, is that Web3, or the principles behind Web3, allow for the most effective way of collaboration, of like coordination of the collaboration in a decentralized world, in a globalized world. And there are different ways to think about it. There's technical implementation to think about it, and that's about the incentive alignment. How do incentives get aligned on the blockchain layer, like consensus mechanisms, and how do they get aligned on the human layer, like DAOs? So that's what we cover in week 3. And then we go ahead and we see different implementations of how do projects that have already launched, how do they design themselves and which part of this ecosystem do they play? How do you look at the information that they give out? How do you do research on a project that claims to do ABCD? And then after we've done a little bit of that, we zoom out. We zoom out and we think about capitalism as our way to coordinate the economic or the transactions of value within society. How can we create a world in which capitalism is used for the benefit of making the pie bigger for all rather than making the pie bigger for a small minority of people in the world? And how do things such as our relationships to nature, the earth, um, how can we embed these concepts into it? Or are we actually growing the pie bigger at the expense of non-humans? So that's the question we will explore, and to see where do these foundational thoughts come from. And in week 6, we wrap everything up and we show you, now that basically you understand and maybe have already developed the judgment necessary to see if you actually resonate, if all these different concepts resonate with you, how can you place your voice and become a contributor in the unit economy, the token economy of unit network? So that's a wrap up. Every week it's about 5 to 6 hours of contribution, of self-study. It's asynchronous. Everything is uploaded online, but there are very many human elements in it, because like we said, we want people to join and develop a fluency, a mastery about talking about these different concepts, because we think the most effective way to learn is not to study the concepts, but to think about them, to imagine what would happen if these concepts were applied in everyday life, and then to speak with each other and to help each other, to challenge each other, to become friends on the quest of understanding how we want to shape the world of tomorrow. So this has happened. We have already currently, we are in cohort 11 and we at cohort 10, and we're starting the next cohort in July. And it's been fascinating since we started this program. Here is like a little survey. We've had like 1,900 people responding. Like, it was of our students respond, and we can see students are from all across the globe. 25%, 26% from Europe, about a third, a bit less than a third, come from Africa and the Middle East, 16% from the US, the typical blockchain ecosystem community. We have more and more people from the Southern Americas coming, and Asia Pacific. So what we're seeing is what what we set out to do, to create a world of more contribution from communities that so far have not contributed into building the Web3 economy. When looking at these data, I would say we're doing quite well, engaging and creating that world of zero exclusivity and laying the base foundation for those who want to join, to join in and shape. So here are different age numbers. We can see that our program actually is not only for super young people, but we have about a third who are in their peak of their career, 35 to 50 years. I have 12% of people who are 50 plus and still want to understand what's happening. And we have a lot of young driven builders, young people to learn. So what I want to say with this data is, when we look at how to build a zero exclusive economy of tomorrow, we actually do need all diverse skill set. So it's not only about gender parity, but it's also about intergenerational knowledge transfer. And our students, they link with each other, they talk with each other, they meet with each other weekly. And the people who have lived in the old economy actually do have very, very tacit knowledge about what made the economy that we are living in today really work, right? Because young people typically come into the system and they're like, we're going to change the world, but they don't yet have experienced all the major trouble, all the major crises that can come up if things are not done in a thought through way. And others have more experience, so that's why we bring everyone together. We've had about, now we're better, like halfway male and a female ratio. For this cohort, it was already nearly 50-50. So we're working on it, progressing. And people come from very, very many different categories of contribution to the current economy, like self-employed, startup entrepreneurs, and employed people who are running the enterprises of today, running the economic system of today, still wanting to learn how would their everyday life change when they looked at the economy of tomorrow. So having said that, what happens at the end of the cohort? People can receive a certificate of completion. This one is, for example, one for cohort 10. It's minted on a blockchain with one of our partners that have been supporting us scaling this program in the world. So it's the certificate of completion module by module. After 6 modules, you have six certificates, and then you can apply for the grand program certificate. Why is that of such importance? And we've done this for 10 cohorts. So what we have experienced is when you come from a place in which you cannot afford to attend these high quality, high established institutions for learning. We would say, I grew up in Germany. For us, education was free. So it was like, I took it for granted to study at like very good access, with very good access to the world's knowledge. Libraries, everything was available at zero cost. I did not even come across the idea to understand that peers around the world might not have had this access, the same level of access to learn whatever their heart calls them to learn. Right? So then if they don't have access to learn this, they learn over the internet. But when they learn over the internet, how do they show to other people that will later in a globalized economy employ them that they do have these credits, right? If they don't have any credits to show, their access to even getting into the interview process is denied. So it triggers a lot of systemic problems. And what we've been up to contribute to solving this problem here at Unit Masters is to say, sure, you do your work 5-6 hours a week. We are not an institution that is accredited, but what we can is we can share, you can use this NFT minted on chain to share that you were part of this. And this is already very, very helpful. It's not the ideal solution, but it's one solution. And a lot of our students have already told us, thanks to the different certificates and their participation in the program, they were able to get a job of their dreams in an industry that they fairly believe in, that aligns with their value. And so we've been looking forward to continue this program and growing to 100,000 certificates by the end of the year. So we're still this cohort. We're still in optimizing all the processes so that we can bring it to the world, like to build the world's largest blockchain literacy program, to really make sure that inequity does not come from inequitability, right? What we're solving here at Unit is to optimize for ability to be equitable, like ability to create equity as part of Unit Masters, as part of our philanthropic efforts at Unit Network. So with that said, I think I want to just take a break and stop talking so much. Stefan, please, the stage is all
No,
yours.
thank you so much, Yip. It's been enlightening. And congratulations for the work that you've been involved in, that you actually started initially and are still very much involved in today. And it's bringing this gender parity through education, I think, which is one of our goals and your goals specifically, to bring but in alignment with the United Nations SDG goals. So good work, great work. I have a question, and maybe others, please join in with the questions that you have. Mine would be in terms of this in impacting the well-being of people. How do you make that connection with what you're doing in education, with your interest in the well-being?
Yeah. So well-being, like the major idea about well-being, it has two components. One is like the well, and the second is the being. Being is a skill that we have embedded as a component into the weekly curriculum. Being as in how can I be myself in the present moment? That's like a mindfulness skill. That's part of optional components of the 6 weeks curriculum. Well is like how can I be myself in a way that I can inspire myself, right? What is basically the light that lights up inside me, or the light that guides my actions, my activities? And this is the question of what is valuable to me? What are my values? What makes me wake up every day? So, well and being is integrated in Unit Master's curriculum in the way that we have added exercises along the 6 weeks for you to take care of your mental health. Includes like practices of contemplation and practices to inquire within you, what piece of contribution do I want to give to the world based on what is guiding my light, what is bigger
Right,
than myself, like the light without shadow. And then
right.
that's like a constant process, a process of inquisition that never ends, and a process of rebalancing every now and then. And a lot of these elements are integrated in unit network in general, but in particular in unit masters, is in every 6 weeks we have one batch, and that batch is like you can take this unit masters cohort as often as you want, so you always can rebalance yourself, dive in and dive out at ease whenever you have time throughout the year.
Awesome. Yeah, as a graduate of the program myself, I can only attest to the values of well and being that are embedded into the program. Zachary, you have a question, please.
Yes. Yeah. First of all, I applaud you on all of your achievements in terms of educating and really looking at the gender disparity that's existed historically. I know that education in general is meant to enable and empower. And I'm wondering what your hope for the Unit Master students is after Unit Masters, looking maybe 6 months, a year, even 2 years down the line.
Yep. So, Zach, you've been one of the major contributors to Unit Master, so just want to give the credits back. Zach, for all of you who don't know yet, Zach is the one who's actually built the human layer and the processes involved to get students onboarded and to get students understand where they want to use their skills and talents within the broader Web3 economy, or within Unit in case they want to stay within the Unit network. And what students can actually hopefully do right after unit masters is already to have a good understanding of how do they allocate their resources, their time, their capital. Do they want to just contribute in building, or do they just want to contribute being a capital allocator in their means, right? The second thing is want people to become role models for others, so being the guiding light for others, becoming a local ambassador and lead study group sessions. And the third thing is once they feel very, very comfortable to go out and build the ventures of their dreams. Or, of course, like Stefan, like Zach, like many others, join the Unit Network community. And we have a few members here, like Eric. Thank you, Eric, for helping to build the Boston community with Unit Masters. So there's a lot of different opportunities for students to come in, guide others, attract capital, and launch ventures.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ty, for your
Thank you so much.
for your time, and really appreciate your
Thank you.
insights and the success that that it shows, and the leadership that you're taking within within Unit Network. Thank you very much for your contribution.